Good people, welcome. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, guys, y'all let me know. I just realized I had the mic and the browser on, so y'all probably heard a little bit while the starting B-roll was on, but it's all good, right? Y'all cool. But just give me the thumbs up, make sure you can hear me, and then once, Kenyon starts to talk, make sure you can hear him. Let me get the browser audio set up correctly. Give me a second here. And like I said, I'll have Kenyon, well, actually, say what's up, Kenyon, and make sure that people can hear you.
Good afternoon on this lovely Tuesday evening of Super Bowl week. How's everybody doing? Hope your week's going great.
Yeah.
And let's get it.
Let's get it. And hopefully, like I said, you guys are hearing me and Kenyon just fine. I see somebody said, said Kenyon looked like a giant in that chair. Kenyon is pretty tall, man. I never met Kenyon in person, but again, man, if you kind of just understanding the conversations that we've had, I know he's a bit tall, from basketball and all of that. So
yeah, 6'2", man. I'm 6'2".
There you go. So there you have it. And me, I'm not that tall, guys. I'm probably like doing my neck like that to sneak out 6 foot. To sneak out 6 feet. I'm probably like 5'10" in reality. I'm not a short guy, but not a tall guy, if that makes sense. But welcome, first of all, guys. Y'all, listen, we're going to jump right in. But the first thing, let me do real quick, man. And I see for whatever reason, the comments are acting funny in my software. So let me go to the stream really quick. I think I already have it up. And we'll do what we normally do. I'm going to say hello to the early commenters. I do see we got a donation in there as well, so I'll hit that in a moment. Rajon39, Relfax, Ron Simpson Gaming, Big Dro, Xavier Walls, Mr. Winningham, how you doing, sir? Charlie Brown, Jeremy Johnson, Henry Manuel, The Real Missy. Hello, The Real Missy. Welcome, female listener. We always say hello to our lovely ladies. 007 in the building. You saw me messing with you, 007. He said he had places to go and people to do. I said, man, you ain't got nobody to do. You don't worry about it. If you did, you wouldn't be listening to us at this moment. But no, it's all fun and games. Miss Debbie, hello, Miss Debbie. Miss Debbie in the house. Gotta say hello to Debbie again. Another one of our lovely ladies of the chat. Who else we got in here? Antoine Beasley, Steelers Slayer, Carmelo Moody, and Steelers Slayer. Let's stop right there, because round of applause for the donation. Hopefully y'all are hearing it. All right, round of applause. He says, Sim, next season we will finally see a changing of the guard when it comes to Big Ben and Tom Brady retiring, and also who you got in the Super Bowl. So, all right, me and Kenyon both will answer that question, but before we do that completely, let me pull up my notes, guys, so y'all know pretty much what our topics will be tonight. It is in the description too, but I like to just read them so y'all know what it is. Mainly, we're going to talk about the QB prospects and the free agents, quarterbacks, things of that nature. We might hit on that first. Then we're going to dive right in, man. Louis Riddick is rumored to be interviewed by the Steelers for the GM job. Teryl Austin has been hired as a defensive coordinator. What's this guy, Frisman Jackson? Not too familiar with him, but I think he coached at Carolina, wide receivers coach, the new one now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then the big one, guys, Brian Flores. We talking about that. And there's a common theme, I think, within our topics that's gonna bleed into the Brian Flores situation. And we actually have a special guest, one of your own, who wanted to come on for that segment. They wanted to keep it a secret. So when we get there, I will bring them on the show. So it'll be the three of us talking about all of that. So I guess first up, Kenyon, man, who do I have in the Super Bowl? I guess I'll give my opinion really quick first. Who do I have versus who do I think is going to win? I'm going to go with the Rams. I'm going to be honest, guys. And listen, I'm not a bitter Steelers fan. The Bengals are probably going to win. I'm just saying. The Rams scare me a little bit, man. They're a little up and down in terms of defensively. And it's weird that we're saying that about the Rams, right? You know, they got Aaron Donald and those boys. You know, what's my man? My mind is slipping now. Other pass rusher, man. Von Miller. They got Von out there. They got Jalen Ramsey. You know, you got the old man and Weddle helping them at safety. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe I haven't watched as many Rams games, but I feel like their defense hasn't been dominant. Meaning that I don't feel like that they can't be scored on. And Cincinnati has shown that they have a powerful offense. However, the offensive line is still in question. So I told somebody earlier last week that that's going to be the key, in my opinion. If Aaron Donald and the rest of those guys can get home and make it a tough day, then I think the Rams have enough offense. Matthew Stafford has enough special moments that they can probably win the game. But I'm not going into it thinking that the Rams will win. I'm going to be honest with y'all, man. I think if I had to bet on it, based on what I'm seeing, I'm thinking that the Bengals probably win. But I'm going for the Rams, man. I mean, it's not because it's the Bengals. It's not because it's an AFC North foe. Who cares? I mean, they ain't been there in years. So it's not like, you know, I got to root against them because I'm a Steelers fan. I just rather see the Rams, man. You know, I'm an Aaron Donald fan. You know, y'all know how it is, man. When you like players, I like to see him get himself a ring. I'm going to root for Jalen Ramsey because he's from Florida State. I like to see Matthew Stafford get himself a ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, and excuse me. Honestly, I think Sean McVay is a good enough coach that, you know, I think he deserves to get himself a ring here early. He got the one Super Bowl. But, you know, I guess I feel for more people on the Rams team. Beckham. Can't forget Beckham. I'm going to always root for Odell. Y'all know me. And you know what, Kenyon, is funny. Maybe it fits the theme of the show tonight. I'm going to always root for that athlete that's perceived a certain way. And we know why the media does it. They did it to Lamar Jackson. He can't be the quarterback. Let's make him a receiver. Before the dude even got drafted. That really pissed me off. So I said, you know what? I'm always going to root for Lamar except for twice a year.
Right.
Odell Beckham. You know, everybody said, oh, it's him. You know, Baker can't win because of him. Oh, look how much better they're playing without him. Now, again, Beckham is no saint. I'm not saying that. But it's good to see him actually contributing. You know, he's not just riding the coattail. This dude actually did some work. So, you know, it'd be cool for him to get himself a Super Bowl ring. I wouldn't be mad at that either. So, there you have it, guys. I would like the Rams to win, but my heart is telling me that the Bengals are probably in better position to win that game. What you think, Kenya?
Well, do you guys want me to be honest, or do you want me to just answer the question? Which way do y'all want it?
Let's hear both.
One for honesty and one for the fake answer. Which one do you want? Which one would you guys like? You know what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments. That'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, somebody answer that question. Let's hear it in the comments, guys.
You want the real answer, how I really feel, or the answer to placate the question? I can give you either. You know what I'm saying? I prefer to be honest, but
somebody said be honest.
All right, I'll be honest. I don't care. I don't care about the Rams.
That too.
I don't care about the Bengals. I don't care about the Super Bowl. I just don't. I'll watch it. I'm a football fan. I'm not rooting for anybody in particular. I'm just not. It's cool. It's cool Cincinnati got back to the Super Bowl. That's great. It's nice to see. It's kind of like an LSU game with all the LSU players essentially playing on both sides. If you think about it, you have Odell, who was the once and future king. Then you have Jamar, who's kind of had an Odell season plus, technically. And been more of a weapon. And but I don't. If the Rams win, great, cool. If Cincinnati wins, I won't care. I'm pretty sure Ohio fans would be happy that they won a Super Bowl, but I won't care because, it doesn't really affect us in a lot of ways. You just have to deal with Joe Burrow for his, for the next 15 years, and that's just reality. But, to me, it's like the Rams, to me, are like a Madden team. They put them together. They bought and paid, they sold their future just to get to the Super Bowl. So if they don't win it,
oh man.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of like, I guess a part of me says, well, if Cincinnati wins, and that just blows up that whole going all in and trading all these picks for these players, these once in all pro players, and then you can't win it. That says a lot. And really it's more a referendum on Matthew Stafford to me and the coach. Like, to me, this is going to be an interesting game because all those coaches that he's affiliated with have been getting jobs, and it leads into what we talk about later. They're all getting jobs, but it's got to win now, and so we'll see if Sean McVay can win. If Cincinnati wins, great, but it doesn't affect me in any way. I'm kind of already on to I'm on to the draft and stuff like that. So whoever wins, congratulations, but I don't care, man. I don't root against any team. Only team I root against, I actually don't. I don't root against any team. I'm ambivalent to most teams in the NFL. Even the Ravens, even the Browns, I just don't. It's like the Browns can't talk to Steelers fans because they haven't won a Super Bowl. The Ravens fans can talk to us, but it's a limited conversation because they've only won 2. Like I always tell you guys in the chat, unless you get to 6, when you get to 5, we can have a conversation. When you get to 6, then, you can have your argument. There's only one team that can argue with us. People can argue and can say that's kind of fraudulent. They're, one of theirs. So it's kind of like, I don't really care about those other teams, man. It's I would have been upset if San Francisco got in. That's when you worry, because then they could catch you. See, anybody that can join the club, that's when I worry about it. But right now, I don't worry about it. So
the Cowboys.
Right, yeah, the Cowboys. The Cowboys and those teams that can, as I like to say, move in our cul-de-sac, move on our block, own property. They can have a conversation. But the other teams, I don't care about. So, whoever wins, cool. But I don't care. That's it. That's all I got on that.
Hey, I'm with you. And we can move right along to the next topic, guys. We'll get the quarterback stuff out of the way quick because, like I said, man, the bulk of this show, we want to talk about, the staff hirings, how the Steelers went about it, and, the rumor about Louis Riddick, being interviewed or expected to be interviewed for the GM position, and definitely Brian Flores. So let's go ahead and hit the quarterbacks, man. And I'll actually let Kenyon, man, lead the way on this one. You probably focused in on it a little more than I did. I watched a little bit of the Senior Bowl, was keeping up with the practices here and there. Haven't gone back and watched anything. Excuse me. But listen, man, let me give you my opinion from this perspective. And we can tie this into it as well. Free agents versus draft. After hearing all of the news from the Senior Bowl and seeing how guys were acting at the practices and who all was at the practices for the Steelers, it's becoming more and more clear to me that I think the Steelers are going to do what I've been saying for the last couple weeks. they're probably going to draft a guy, which means guess you know who's going to be the starter, or at least at the head of the depth chart going into the season. Mason Rudolph. This is what I think is going to happen. It only makes sense. Same reason why I think they convinced Mason Rudolph to do an extension. He had no incentive to do that. Why wouldn't he just go to free agency unless he was told you're going to have an opportunity to be the guy? Our plan, maybe they didn't tell him this, but the plan is let's draft a guy, And think about it. Now it starts to make a little more sense. Tomlin saying, I would prefer a veteran in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say he preferred a veteran to take over for Ben long term. And again, I know I'm just trying to piece words together, but he didn't say anything about handing the reins over to a veteran as a new franchise guy. He specifically said, I would rather go with the veteran going into 2022. That sounds like Tommy Maddox and Ben Roethlisberger. We got a veteran. Let's draft our quarterback of the future, hopefully. Let him sit down for a minute. And if he has to play, we'll play him. Or if the guy ahead of him just stinks the place up, we'll play him late. Or maybe you take the Andy Reid approach. Remember how Pat Mahomes started playing a little later in his rookie season? Played a few games or so because they knew where they were going.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what it's going to be. So I won't spend so much time on free agents. Again, guys, the question you got to ask yourself, do you want the Steelers to spend money on any of these guys who are going to be free agents and lock that up as far as cap, your cap capital, if you will? Think about it. It's not about what you think about the guy. Football is a business. That means they demand a market just because they're a quarterback. Again, I used this example, I think, last week. The name Chase Daniel mean anything to anybody. Remember a couple of years ago that deal that he got? It's like, what? This dude, no disrespect to him, because I loved what he did when he was in Missouri. Him and Macklin. Y'all remember that? But the thing is, it's because he was a backup and has been a backup basically his whole career. He was able to demand that type of money as a backup. So what do you think a guy like Brissett, even a Mariota, Jimmy G, y'all already know what it's going to cost to get him if he's not released. But even if he is released, what's he going to accept as a contract? Do y'all want to put that type of investment in any of these free agent quarterbacks? The answer for me is no. I'm sorry. Because the Steelers are at that point, guys, that we're rebuilding. So to me, if you're rebuilding, you might as well try to build via draft, unless there's a super young quarterback, a super stud that you can trade. Okay, Deshaun Watson. If that option is actually available with no legal ramifications and all of that, yeah, maybe you kick those tires. But outside of that, it should be clear that they're going to draft a guy, and if they don't find the guy or get the guy they want, Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, will be your quarterback. But outside of that, before I throw it to Kenyon, listen, man, they say all the reports are coming back saying how much they are in love with Malik Willis. We've been telling y'all about Malik Willis. My quick assessment, he's still raw. Just like everybody else, I think, that we saw this week. And if you go watch their film, none of these guys, to me, are... It's interesting, man. Kenyon sent me an article earlier this week where or it might have been earlier today. These days run together. But the quote-unquote, experts are saying that none of these guys are starters in 2022. That might be a shock to some, but if you really sit back and think about it, do any of these quarterbacks in this draft, honestly, make you feel like your team is a instant contender, just like that? Or you think they're going to come in and they're going to just hit the ground running? Not even Pickett. Pickett, honestly, might have the best. He might be the best projected But I don't know, man. I don't know if I do feel like automatically this is my guy. Let's start him week 1 with any of them. So I say all that to say I'm seeing some real wild criticism about these quarterbacks, man. Like you guys are looking for them to be finished products. None of them are. You got to look at what is their potential. And I like Malik Willis. When that boy takes off and runs, just imagine if we could bring him along like the Ravens have kind of brought along Lamar Jackson. Say what you will about Lamar, but Lamar has gotten better since rookie year. Still might not be he might not kill you with his passing, but you got to respect it way more than you once did. If Malik Willis can, well, I'm not going to dive all the way into it right now to bore y'all, but I'll just say this and then Kenyon take it away. I like the upside in him. If you ask me, out of all these quarterbacks, who would you prefer to see become the guy in the next 2 to 3 years if everything works out the way you want it? Malik is it. That mobility, if you can get his pocket presence a little better, because I think he sometimes sits in there a little too long and doesn't have that clock in his head the way he should. Get his accuracy up a little bit. I need this. I'm gonna be selfish and say I need to see that in Pittsburgh. I would love to see that type of guy in Pittsburgh. We ain't seen that in years. I would like to see a guy that dynamic in Pittsburgh for a change. And we all talk about a changed offense. That's it. Right there. So those are my thoughts, man. But like I said, y'all been waiting for him. We're gonna let the resident scout just beat y'all over the head with his thoughts, man, of these quarterbacks from this past week.
I agree with Sam. I think I've told Sam. I mean, the Senior Bowl practice this week were very revealing in a lot of ways. As Sam said earlier, the rumors about Willis, the Steelers were around Willis a lot. They were around him a lot. They saw every throw. They really, really like him. I would agree with Sam. Malik Willis has the most potential of all the quarterbacks in this draft, and it's really not really close. It's like he has that much potential. He's kind of like a little bit more athletic Jalen Hurts, a little bit faster, not a little bit faster, like probably way more faster. And he has the upside. He won't be a starter right away. And Simon mentioned this earlier. We were texting a couple of days ago, and he's like, Steelers might trade up to do that. And I'm like, I start thinking about it. You start watching tape, and Malik Willis has flaws. Kenny Pickett they know Kenny Pickett because they've seen him at Pitt, so they know about him, and he might be second on their list. Can't forget about Matt Corral because he's not healthy, so they haven't seen him, been able to work him out and talk to him and all that stuff. But Matt Corral will be in there. I've said this before. He's really light, but in Matt Canada's system, and all you have to do is watch Maryland football 3 years ago when he had a running quarterback and he had Anthony McFarland. And you watch that offense average 45 points a game. And just imagine Malik Willis with Najee Harris, and the growth could be there because Malik has the temperament to maybe be really good. He can't start right away. It will be probably Mason Rudolph. It won't be a veteran guy that you would think you would bring in. I think they'll just let Mason roll with it because he knows the offense now. And really it hinges on what the Steelers do in free agency. But of the quarterbacks I saw, especially in the practices, Malik Willis was the best quarterback. Kenny Pickett probably was second. He had an up and down week. Pickett had some, especially in the weather, because it was 2 of those days it was really bad. The weather was bad. So his throws weren't great, which was very interesting that he played in Pitt, where, he would be used to that. And but he had days where he didn't really, some of those balls weren't great. Sam Howell, he's kind of just there. I know some people like Desmond Ridder, but Desmond Ridder had an up and down week. He missed some throws that he should have made, especially in the practice sessions, because let me tell you guys something. The game doesn't really matter. It's what you do in practice, because that's when all the scouts and all the teammates and all the coaches are there. That's when they watch you. That's when they evaluate you during the practices. And Desmond Ridder didn't have like great practices. He had okay practices. I will put him in a lower tier. Then I will say Malik Willis and Pickett. And that's somebody you probably can get in the second, maybe third. He might still be there. Sam Howell also. And then as far as Strong out of Nevada, who supposedly had the best arm strength, he didn't really show it. And Malik Willis's arm was cutting through the rain. Malik Willis's guns was cutting through the rain. His pass was going through the rain and bad weather. Malik Willis has the strongest arm. It's not, you can't argue no more, because you saw it in that weather. You saw it on the practice field. So Malik Willis, he has the most potential, but he is the project of the bunch. But the Steelers love him, and I know what the Steelers envision. They see themselves having somebody that can run that offense, Matt Canada's offense, and they're all in on Canada. So people that want him gone, they're all in. It just tells you that they're all in on Canada. So they're all in. They all went down there. They all talked to Malik Willis. Tomlin talked to his parents. Malik Willis has flaws as far as his feet in the pocket, and as Sim would say, his pocket awareness. But that's something you can teach that. He can learn that with a good quarterback coach and sitting behind somebody. You can learn that skill. And his arm talent, you can't teach that. And his legs, you can't teach that. Mm-hmm. And so like, to me, you get the right quarterback coach, you let Malik Willis sit for a year. It's really funny. Similar to what they did in Kansas City. When he had all that talent, he didn't play. They sat him, he learned, and then they finally let him take over the reins. And if they get the right quarterback coach, Malik Willis, I think they may be zeroing in on Malik Willis. We're talking about quarterbacks today. I'm not going to get into the other stuff. We'll talk about the other positions later. But, there were other people that were very impressive at that Senior Bowl that I wouldn't mind the Steelers taking. If not, you couldn't get Malik Willis. There are other players. But I can do that. That's a later date. Today is quarterbacks. But I was just saying, that's the quarterback I think the Steelers really love. I think they love Malik Willis, and I think they will trade up and may not have to give up enough, because it really comes down to pick 11. If he gets past 11, as me and Sim has been talking about recently, then you really don't have to worry about like pick 16 or 17, and they're at 20. So you could trade up to 16 or 17 and really not give up. You can give up a 23 pick and might be able to get up to 16 or 17. So if they can do that, I think they're zeroing in on Malik. From what you keep hearing, and as they said, the quarterback class has been getting up and down reviews. And I would just say this: he's the most talented guy. The only quarterback I would take over him. There are two quarterbacks I would take over him, but they're not in this class. So that just tells you what I mean. They're in the 23 class that I would take over him. But as far as that concerned, Malik Willis might be the guy. I would say, if you guys want to watch him, I would suggest try to watch Liberty games or watch some, watching highlights is cool, but if you watch him in the game, because he has his flaws. He has games where he's played bad. He's had terrible games. But he can wow you and he can anger you. He can give you both sides of the emotion. So I would just say watch him. And, we told you about him a long time ago. We were on him, but we kind of had to temper our viewpoint of him, especially during the season when he kind of struggled a little bit. But, all tape isn't bad. All tape is good if you can watch somebody and learn if you can mold them in a certain way. And I think the Steelers really love him. So we'll see. And that's really all I have to say as far as the quarterbacks go. To me, it's a two-man race for the Senior Bowl from what I saw. Carson Strong is mobile.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, man, because, and for you guys that don't know what Kenya was referencing, we kind of looked it over. There's quite a few teams that might be looking for a quarterback, and Washington is sitting at 11, right? And between there, you go all the way down to the Saints at 18, who could be another team in the mix. Philly has 3 picks,
yep,
which include the 16th and 17th. So that's what we're saying is if the Steelers want to trade up, Kevin Colbert doesn't have to bust his gun so fast. They don't got to pull their trigger the same way they did with Devin Bush and moving all the way up to 10. Unless, I mean, again, a lot of times these guys kind of know what other teams are feeling. So if they get the feeling that the Lions are one of them teams, I mean, are definitely going to take their guy, and this is definitely their guy, maybe you do that. But the preferred scenario would be is you trade for the 16th, for the 17th, maybe the 17th. Mm-hmm. Keep it as low as possible, where it's probably not going to require a pick this year. I would imagine you could come to the Eagles and be like, look, let's do a swap. We'll give you such and such for next year as well, because we want to keep all of our picks in this draft. So I imagine you can make that happen, man. So that's probably going to be what you want to look at is if they trade up, if he's still on the board. To say that Kenny Pickett is not in the mix, we don't know. You know, I'm just saying that for guys who are fan of Kenny Pickett. We don't know what the Steelers. I mean, I'm sure they got their eyes on him. I'm sure they still looking at Hal. Ridder too, man, is an interesting one. Like Kenya said, if Steelers don't get Malik Willis, and Ridder is sitting there in the second round, he's a raw talent, man. But if you look at his measurables, he has a decent arm. He's raw too. You know, I wouldn't mind taking Desmond Ridder in a situation where we're not expecting to play him right now. You know, maybe you give up a second, not give up, but maybe you allow your second or your third round pick to be him. You know, I don't think that's too much of a risk when you're looking for a quarterback anyway. You don't have to play him this season. Just kick the tires. But reaching for him in the first, I don't think there's too many of these guys, in my opinion, that are bona fide first round projections. Mm-hmm. You know, I know all the mocks are gonna say it, but I don't see that from all of these guys. Honestly, you know who might go earlier than expected? Strong. You look at Strong's games, I just don't want him in Pittsburgh because he can't move. You know, he's got the knee injury and all that, but like Kenya said, he didn't do that great down at the Senior Bowl. But if you're going to look at his body of work, kid's arm looked good in games. You know what I mean? He looks like a solid quarterback. And maybe one of them teams like the Lions or somebody like that would take him. Maybe not everybody is going to go the mobile route. So it's going to be interesting, man. But I do think Malik Willis has earned himself into the first round. Somebody's going to take the chance, even if it ain't Pittsburgh. And like Kenya said, man, I would love to see Matt Canada with a true. Remember when Kenya was making this statement when him and Destiny had that great debate? You know, great conversation. But one thing Kenya said that we all have to agree with is we currently did not have an RPO option that included the running quarterback. So imagine us being able to put that into the fold. RPO, you know, inside read and all of that zone read stuff with Willis. I love to see it. Now, for you guys that are not that big on the shorter guys, then a lot of these dudes ain't over 6'1". That makes it interesting too, you know, but I'm kind of a little bit over that, man. And, you know, you want a guy who's bigger and stronger and can tower over the offensive line, but I think we've seen enough examples of guys who are not super tall. I mean, you know, Russell Wilson has been a super consistent quarterback his entire career. Y'all know I love Russell Wilson. So it's not like it's impossible. Other than that, man, I'm with Kenyon. I don't really have much more to add to that. I did see somebody ask about Kyler Murray. No, man, no. Not dissing him. I'm just saying, like, you don't. Let me tighten up my GM hat real quick, guys, and so y'all understand where I'm going with this. Great talent. And it's funny that I said that size doesn't matter, right? And now here I'm about to say it. I don't know, man. It's just Kyler Murray doesn't make me go crazy. He's a super talented kid. But I don't know. I just feel like he looks like Minnie Mouse out there to me, man. When he's not a big guy. You know, even though he's not tall, he's not that big. He just doesn't. I don't feel like he's imposing. at the quarterback position. I think he's just super talented. He can escape the pocket. He's fast. I don't know, Kenya, maybe I'm wrong. I just don't. He's not franchise quarterback to me. If you're asking me to trade for him, you know it's gonna cost you something. Now I know he's still on his rookie deal, right?
Yes.
And
yeah.
how many years are left? Do you know?
He's played 2 years. So what would that be? He gets 5 years. He's a top 5 pick, right? So that's 3 more.
That throws a monkey wrench in it a little bit because now you're getting a quarterback that's talented and mobile that's not going to be as expensive as I thought.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's something about it. I just don't see him as he's not a Steeler, man, if that makes sense. I just don't. And I'm not all the way saying that Malik Willis is. I mean, who knows? But he just Kyler Murray playing in the AFC North, man, I don't see it, bro. I just don't. To me, he's more finesse. You know, we're going to need a guy. And the reason why, actually, I'll take it back what I said about Malik. Malik takes some hits.
Yep.
He ain't scared to get hit.
But he's not little.
Yeah, he's not that little. And I'm not saying I want my quarterback to do that, but
to play devil's advocate, what you're talking about, Kyler Murray, I'll just play devil's advocate. Kyler Murray is a little guy, but he's not little. He's not skinny.
Yeah.
If you look at him, he's thick. So if you look at him, he can take a hit. He can do all that because he's stocky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's stocky. You know, so he's not one of those. He's not. The example would be Kyler Murray, Matt Corral. Matt Corral is essentially thin. Kyler Murray is a little bit thicker. It's thick. He's thick. You know what I mean? He's in a Russell Wilson mold. You know what I mean? They're in the same type of mold. So
yeah, that's true.
Is Kyler Murray a franchise quarterback? Well, they thought so. He got picked that high coming out of that system. Would I want him in Pittsburgh? No. And there's no disrespect against him. I mean, look, if you have a chance to get him and they offer, in Pittsburgh, pull the trigger and not have him, I wouldn't be mad. Could he run that system? Yes. It's an RPO system. You know what I mean? It's the same system he ran it. You know what I mean? It's the same system he's used to. The Arizona system is more to his liking. So, just playing devil's advocate about him. He's a talented guy, man. I think that, I guess you've had 2 years of film on him. You don't know what he is. I mean, I guess you don't know what he is. I mean, you don't know what he is yet. And so, but I agree with you on that in that sense. But I'm just giving the other side that if you look at Kyle, he is he's a show. And if you can get some, pieces around him, he has pieces in Arizona, which is, you can't even argue. I mean, you look at his receiving core, it's stacked. So, it's I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that situation. It doesn't affect us. I don't like to speculate about players that I know we may not even, we may not even entertain that thought. So it's that's pretty much it. But I'm just giving you the other side. Because I know how you feel about it.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, he's not a small little guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't see him as a Steeler, man. Yeah, just wanted to comment really quick, man, on what Dominic said here, and then we can jump to the next topics. He's saying that the Steelers actually said if Kenny Pickett is available at 20 that they would take him, and they said they won't trade up for him. He said they mentioned that on 93.7 The Fan. Not saying that they didn't say it. I just sounds a little unusual that the Steelers would actually come out and say that.
Yeah.
Now, are you saying the local radio said that, or someone from the Steelers organization?
Right, because they're not going to show their hand.
Yeah, because I can't really recall a time that we've heard them commit on a draft pick.
Yeah, they're not doing that.
So, but yeah. That's all we got for now, guys. I mean, listen, the draft will be coming in a couple months. Free agency will be here in a little over a month. And we'll see what happens because all of that is still in play. I don't expect the Steelers to go crazy for quarterback. I think they are going to sit tight. And I think Mason Rudolph is your security blanket. I know some of y'all don't like that blanket. Maybe it's it's a silk blanket instead of a cotton one. Some of y'all prefer the cotton one, but it's a blanket. I'm just saying, he's the security blanket, man. I'm telling you. Either way it goes, he's the security blanket if one of the guys isn't there to pick, and he's the security blanket if one of the guys are there, or Malik Willis, or whoever they've identified as their guy. They still draft him. He's not entering training camp, probably not even the season as the starter unless he balls out. Lamar Jackson didn't even start. So did. He didn't start. Pat Mahomes didn't start. You want to go back a little further than that? Aaron Rodgers. Even though, bad example, I'll admit it. I mean, Brett Favre was still the quarterback. So it'd be more like if Ben was still the quarterback for us.
Ben went 11. Ben went 11 and didn't start.
There you go.
Ben went 11. He did not start. So here's the better question, as Sim brought up, and I'm gonna pose a question to Sim to answer this question. Sim, you said Steelers should not. They don't get Willis at 20. They might look at Ridder or another quarterback later. Would you, knowing the current landscape of the quarterbacks in 23, would you waste a pick on a quarterback if you couldn't get the guy you wanted?
Man, now you back the other corner.
That's why I asked the question.
Probably not, man. Because honestly, again, let me adjust the GM hat. Clearly, we're looking for a quarterback. Clearly, we need one. Our owner even told us that openly. Our Hall of Fame quarterback just retired. We have a guy that we have re-upped for another year, but, if we knew he was the starter, we probably ain't focusing so heavy on the quarterback. We probably not saying out loud. But GM, as the GM, my owner is probably not saying in the public, yeah, Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins are going to have an opportunity. That's telling. Because if my owner thought that Rudolph or Haskins were the guys, they probably would say, we got two guys right now that we think one of those guys will be our starter. That's probably the message. So if I know that, and we're focusing on quarterback, we've identified, let's say, two of these guys.
Right.
At most three, as a guy that we think we would draft. My somewhat, let's say, educated speculation would lead me to believe that Malik Willis, Sam Howell, and Kenny Pickett are probably the three guys. Well, Coral is a wild card, but those are probably the three. So would I reach, spend a draft pick on one of the guys that we're not sure about, knowing what the 2023 class might have in there? No, probably would not. So, Your Honor, I would like to strike the comment I made earlier. We're probably not going to do that in the second round. And I don't think Desmond Ridder right now, unfortunately, I don't think. May not be what I think. Who knows what the Steelers think. I don't think Desmond Ridder is a first-round pick. So, it's Willis, it's Howell, it's Pickett, or we skip it. And I promise, I didn't mean to make that rhyme. It's probably what we're looking at, folks. So, get ready for the reindeer. Oh, man.
I mean, I'm just saying, if you don't do that. I mean, Matt Corral, the Matt Corral thing is so incomplete because if you're going just true RPO guys, then you would probably say it's Willis, Corral, Howell, and then Pickett.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because he's run that offense. So, But it will lead us to a conversation about other coaches or what the coaching changes, because it's really shaping up to understand what their identity will be in 22. So,
well, yeah, let's go right to it, man.
Yep.
I guess we'll take the lowest, no disrespect, but the lowest of the topics. We'll hit that really fast, and I'll say my 2 cents. Is it Frisman or Frisman Jackson? How do you pronounce his name?
Yeah, what's Frisman? Frisman.
Let's say Frisman.
Yeah.
Hired as the offensive, not offensive, but wide receivers coach. I don't know much about. Again, guys, I told y'all I know a lot about players. I seem to know a good amount about coordinators, but position coaches, I've heard of people, but I couldn't tell you if it was a good hire or not. So you're never gonna see me in that conversation because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what happened to Ike Hilliard. Did he get hired somewhere else? Did he get fired? I don't know. I didn't even know he got fired. Okay, see, I wasn't even up on that. So in that case, I guess this is a good hire. I don't know who he's developed, who he hasn't. I'm going to trust the organization. Same way I trusted them with Ike Hilliard being a former player. So those are my 2 cents on that. I don't know if you have anything to add to it, Kenya.
No. I mean, I think the firing of Ike Hilliard was and hiring of Frisman is kind of interesting because him and Canada worked together at multiple spots. So obviously this is a Canada suggestion to bring him in because he's comfortable with him and with the development he's had with those receivers. And if to be honest with you, if you look at our receiver development this year, we kind of regressed. I mean, I hate to, but we kind of have. Our receivers did regress. Claypool didn't have he didn't have a second year jump. Deontay played well in the beginning, and then his drops came back. Juju got hurt, so he won't be there. James Washington, since he got phased out. Ray McLeod is probably the one person who took a jump because he got more reps. And so bringing in this new receiving coach is somebody that Canada likes for his offense. So for me, they're doing what they have to do. I mean, they're all in on Canada. So the way I look at it is, we'll see. All you can do is say, we'll see. You know what I mean? And that's it. That's all I have on him. We don't know too much about him. We know he was at Carolina, and he's coached with Canada at multiple spots. North Carolina State, if I'm not mistaken. Also, trying to think of maybe it was somewhere else they coached together, but they're friends, I guess. So we'll see what happens. And I guess all you can do is look forward to it.
Absolutely, man. Hope everything works out.
Yep.
All right, next on the quick agenda, because we can be quick with this one more than likely, but I think we'll pull it back in when we get to talking about Flores and all of that. But Teryl Austin has been hired as the defensive coordinator. I mean, I think most of us said that's what it was going to be anyway. It was interesting seeing that the Steelers did go outside the organization. I did enjoy seeing that. But I'm going to stick to what I said before. I'm hoping the Steelers weren't doing it just to abide by their own Rooney Rule. And hopefully no one's taking that the wrong way. You guys should understand what I mean by that. Listen, you see me, right? You see me in Kenyan? We're clearly, as they want to call you, African Americans, right? Clearly, we're rooting for minorities. I have no shame saying that. But also, I have no shame in any kind of coach. Plenty of coaches in the NFL who are white coaches that I love. We had one in Bill Cowher. We had one in Bruce Arians. Quite a few. So it's funny sometimes guys try to twist my words. Listen, it's not about color. But we talking about that tonight, though. And I think we need to. We'll get there. We're going to get to Brian Flores. But like I said, even with me saying that, I still hope that the Steelers didn't Interview these guys only because of the Rooney Rule. And now we'll never know. Now, I know Pat Graham, I think, got hired elsewhere. I don't know with what's his name, Rashard and Witt. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just hope it wasn't that, guys, because, again, let me say this before we get to it, because I'm sure we're going to come back to this. The Rooney Rule is bogus. I'm sorry. Great intentions by the Rooney family. I'm not knocking the Rooneys. I'm not knocking our organization. I'm just saying the way it was accepted by the NFL. I hope everyone understands that. Accepted by the NFL. It wasn't like they came up with this. No, the Rooneys proposed it. The NFL accepted it the way they wanted it to work. And the owners, okay? But because of the way it's instituted, it's bogus. It doesn't work. Because clearly the numbers haven't changed. And again, I'm going to broaden the conversation by saying minorities, right? Not just African Americans. If you look now, there's only 2 minorities. There's Coach Tomlin and Ron Rivera. A minority can be Hispanic,
talking coaches, by race.
Yeah, you can be, Asian, all of the above. Where are those coaches? So, but of course, we're in America, of course, so we always talk about the Black Americans who are deprived. We're gonna get to it, but I'm just warning y'all in case this offends some people. We cover everything here. That's me as a personality. I don't shy away from real topics, regardless of race, creed, what have you. Just so happens tonight, it's about minorities. But all right, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, just give you my thoughts on Teryl Austin really quick, then I'll throw it to Kenyon. This is what I will be interested to see. How much will the defense change? Meaning, if we are to believe that Mike Tomlin was running the show, will we see many changes? Will they actually go to a 4-3? Since Tomlin is cut from the Tampa 2 tree, which is usually ran out of 4-3 more so than you can run it out of cover 4. I mean, not necessarily. You can run it out of the 3-4, but that's not Tampa 2. You know what I mean? That was more so out of a 4-3. You can run it in a hybrid set. You can run it in sub package. Yeah, but it does make you wonder, will the traditional principles of the cover, the Tampa 2, will all of that come? I don't know. I don't know if we have the personnel quite to do that. But it does make me wonder, will we see something like that? Is it going to be a drastic change where some of those principles obviously were left over from Butler, that was left over from LeBeau? So will we rid ourselves of any of that? I don't know. What would be the philosophy? More cover 2? Less cover 3, because we ran a lot of that. We ran a lot of cover 4 as well. A lot of match out of cover 4. We ran a quarters quite often. Will we keep that? I'm just curious to see. I guess I'm rambling to say this. Will we see any changes from this where we could say, oh, okay, so Tomlin actually is running a full show now. He's taking away some of the stuff that Butler did. Him and Austin has the same vision. And the reason why I say him and Austin, because we saw this coming from a long time ago. Remember, I remember Kenyon saying when we hired Austin as the assistant that he was going to be the eventual replacement. Here's another thing. Did we not see any outside guys because Tomlin runs the show? So I think a lot of these answers are, questions are going to be answered. And honestly, I don't have a beef if it is Tomlin's defense, because we're going to criticize it the same way. Because like I said before, I'm just repeating myself in case there's new viewers. All the last couple years that we thought our defense was elite, supposedly that was Tomlin and not Butler. That's what Butler said. This year, where our run defense suffered severely, and I keep pulling the headset. Hold on, guys. I keep pulling it out of my ear. When we kept getting gouged by the run, per Butler, it's Mike Tomlin running the show, so guess who gets the blame? Mike Tomlin. We had injuries, yes, but I'm going to blame Mike Tomlin in this case, if it's all true, for how our defense looked this year. But I'm definitely going to give him credit for 2020 and 2019. Sure am. So we'll see. Like I said, the way I sit today, I don't have a problem with the status quo if he was running the show. I still want to see us be in situations where we're not getting matched up so much with linebackers. It's going to happen, guys. We do it to teams too. But let's maybe flip the chess match a little bit so we don't get caught as much. I would like to see us reduce some of that cushion that we always giving up. Even though we don't have the real horses on the outside, I still feel like there's an intermediate area where you can not be so close but not too far back. I would like to see some philosophies change, Coach, but for the most part, I don't have a beef at the moment with our defense. So I'm not surprised, man, that it's Austin. It fits the narrative. If it's really Tomlin's show, then I didn't expect anyone else to come in here. Because what real dominant defensive coordinator would not want to have full control?
Right.
So that's kind of how I am, where I'm at on that one.
Yeah, my thoughts would be as Sim said, we kind of saw this coming. When they hired him, we kind of knew this was kind of the natural progression. And as Sim said about the Rooney Rule, and technically, the Rooney Rule has worked for the Steelers because they've actually applied it. They've actually used it and applied it. Everybody else isn't using it the right, correct way. And you see it in the way how coaches are being hired. I guess you can equate it to a job that you were working on for 15 years, and they hire a young person that's 20 years younger than you, and they ask you to train them for your job. I guess that would be the the same analogy that you would use. But I don't. I'm cool. We'll see what happens with the defense. First and foremost, you have to improve their run defense. That's the most important thing. And if Tomlin's going to call the defense, I don't think they're ever switch to a true 4-3 because I think Tomlin likes that hybrid. He likes the ability to be hybrid, and in a lot of ways, your defense has to be hybrid now. You have to have the ability to do that. So it's kind of like, if you look at our defense, we'll see what happens. And more importantly, it really comes down to how the Tuitt situation plays out, because that will affect how they go forward as far as like draft and who they target and free agency and stuff like that. So, I'm cool with it. I don't have too much to say about it. I think I'm cool with Teryl getting the job. I think this would be his second true shot of being a DC. So we'll see what they do. And as Sim said, I agree with Sim about Sim really hates when they don't press. He texts me. If you guys see how many texts I get, they're angry texts. And I don't really see Sim doing angry texts, but they're angry texts. There's I hate to tell you, I'm not going to blow his cover, but there's profanity and stuff like that.
I'd be hot, dog.
He's just hot. He just let us have it. So my thing is, I do agree with him, but you do have to have the horses on the outside to be able to play that coverage. And the thing is that those times that it's happened where he pressed, I'm not going to say nobody's name, but there is somebody that was getting cooked. And me and Sim were like, okay, I see why they playing off, why they playing, doing that, so you have to have those guys to be able to do that. And look, even guys who are elite get cooked like that. Jalen Ramsey gets cooked. He may get cooked Sunday. He's trying to mess around with Jamar Chase. And he wants that assignment. So, we'll see what happens. And all you can do is give him a shot and see what happens. And I actually feel pretty good about the defense, where our defense is at, especially we have holes, but I feel kind of positive because we have the pass rushers and we have, some of the interior guys, and I think that year helped Loudermilk, and it helped, you know what I mean, helped those guys to get developed and get better. Wormley played well. You can't say he didn't play well. He played well. So we'll see. And Lulu, hopefully he comes back healthy. And Montravius Adams, surprise. So, I'm worried about inside linebacker. And, that's another day.
Yeah, man.
And that's how I feel about that.
As many places we can go in this draft, man. I mean, obviously quarterback is a top need, but so is other stuff. Yeah. So I definitely got to take back what I said with the Riddick comment and agree with Kenyon, man. I mean, if you're not taking a quarterback in the first round in this particular year, unless Pro Football Focus or whoever said it is right, let's say none of these guys go in the first round. I doubt it. But if you're in that situation, then yeah, you take a guy in the second round, and the first round pick would be somebody else. But I don't think this is the draft that you fool around, because there's holes to fill. It's a new regime. You got to get as many players as you can. So if you're a guy, if Willis, if he's the guy, or whoever else isn't there, move on. Move on. And Mason Rudolph, here are the keys. Try not to wreck the car, please. And we try to build a team around him. So, but guys, the time has come to the special guest. I know the special guest is in the chat. I have sent the link, so please come on in. It's time to get into it. We'll stall a little bit, on Flores. Let's talk about Louis Riddick, and then, it's time to get into the Flores talk, and I'm just giving you guys a heads up. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what's going on, the disparity, how we feel about that text message, as far as not the text itself, and I will explain what I mean there, but what was discussed in that text, how this could be ascertained, let's use a big word, this information before this man interviews. We're going to get into all of that. But, man, hold on. We got a donation. Round of applause to Steelers Slayer. He says, Kenyon and Steelers. I guess I'm Steelers. Do you see the Steelers drafting a corner or a free agent? If they draft a corner, I think they'll do it like they have done in the last few years. It'll be a little bit later. I wouldn't be surprised if it was second or third. I don't think it's a first-round guy. And yes, I actually do think, and this is funny, these questions are always interesting because the free agency really dictates what you do in the draft. I do think they go after somebody in the draft. I definitely do. I think some of the veteran holes that will be vacated, like Joe Hayden probably won't be back. I think they do look for a corner in free agency. I think they do perhaps look for a right guard in free agency or somebody on the offensive line. They might even look for inside backer. I think they try to plug those holes, and then let's see what happens in the draft. So I think it could go either way.
Yeah, they will draft a corner in this draft. I agree with him. It will probably be this maybe third round. Somebody like, there'll be, there's cornerbacks out there. There's that you could get. I do agree that they probably will address certain issues in free agency. That's what that money matters that they have this year. Like they'll be able to address certain issues on the line, at linebacker. The Steelers do two things in every draft. They usually draft a wide receiver, and they always draft a linebacker. So that's happening. So, however you want to look at it, it's going to happen in this draft. So there are multiple inside linebackers. We won't get into them today, but there are multiple inside linebackers that you could draft in this draft. And there are a couple in the free agency you can maybe be able to address, depending on what you do with Joe Schobert. It really comes down to what they do with Joe Schobert. Do they cut that $8 million and just say, thanks for your service, and then address it again and keep that money, which that'll be an important thing in free agency also. So, yes, they will draft a cornerback. I don't know who it is. There are multiple guys. We have time for that. I saw a lot of good ones. I mean, the cornerback position in this draft is kind of deep, so you'll be able to get some. Because everybody doesn't have to go in the first round, man. You have to remember, guys get pushed down because of the surplus of people in the draft. So you'll get somebody in the second round, you can get somebody in the third. There are multiple guys out there. Kid out of Missouri is nice. Kobe Bryant is nice. There are a couple of corners that you can get later on. They won't address it in the first, but there are a couple of corners, and we'll get into that as time goes on. I have, as I told you, I got lists, and Sim will be watching the same people I'm watching, so we'll have a better viewpoint of what happened. Sim is just coming along. Once he gets into the groove, and as he told you, he does it later than I am, so he'll catch up. And once he catches up, we'll be like Voltron. Former Voltron, we'll be all right.
There you go. All right, special guest, come on in. I'm not seeing you in the queue yet. I know you can hear me. Come on, click that link so you can pop up so we can bring you on in and we can dive into Brian Flores. I'm trying to stall until you get here. Louis Riddick. It's a rumor out there saying that the Steelers will interview Louis Riddick for the GM position. I'm all for it. I'm going to be honest in saying I can't tell you or can't remember what type of success the teams had when I think Riddick was once a GM, I think he was, or he did something in the front office. I don't know. I can't really judge him on that merit, but what I can say, I just like what he talks about. When he talks about players. And, if you really listen to him, not just on broadcast, but when you see him in interviews or you see him on NFL Live or some of those shows he appears on, and he talks about what he would do, his approach, how he would address this team. And, when you're in that position, some of these analysts, they have to talk about multiple teams. And just kind of listening what he said and what he has said, how he would address the team. I've even heard him talk about things he would do for the Steelers. I want that type of mentality. I do. And like I said, I don't know. I can't judge him off of what he has or hasn't done. Because, again, like I said, I don't all the way remember. And I don't know how the screen got a little lopsided here, guys, if y'all see it. I'm going to try to fix it. But I just like the stuff that he talks about in terms of how he would address the team. He sounds like, and I've always said that. Before I even knew that he worked in a front office, I was like, this dude really sounds like a GM. So I'm all for it. Also, let me add this. He would be a minority GM in the NFL. I am not ashamed to say I'm all for that, which is why we're going to be talking about Brian Flores here in a second. It's all about opportunity, and again, for the people who get upset when we have these conversations, it's always interesting because, I'm accused sometimes of being too pro something, right? But what's funny is what you don't realize what you're doing is you're revealing yourself by having a problem with me addressing a real issue. In the NFL, there's an issue with having minority leaders in high positions. GMs, head coaches, don't even get me started on owners.
But there are none.
Well, Shad Khan is.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, you're right. Yeah.
I give you that one. But how many teams are there in the NFL?
32.
Exactly. So whether you are offended or not, that's an issue. It's an issue anywhere. It's an issue. It should be diverse. It should be opportunity. So yes, I am fully in favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers interviewing this man because I like what he says. I'm also in favor if there's another person who is a better GM, a better candidate, hire him. I don't really care that, whether it's a minority or not, it would be nice. Yeah. But I just want the best man for the job. Hey, I like what Kevin Colbert has done for us for several years. Y'all ain't never really heard me go in on Kevin Colbert. I criticize from time to time. But overall, Kevin Colbert has been a great GM, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Same way I would like to see Amir Khan, Brandon Hunt get an opportunity. If it's not with us, maybe somewhere else. So I like Louis Riddick, man. I mean, again, I think y'all have heard me say that numerous times over the years. I like him. I think he is a great candidate. And if he interviews well, how funny would that be that the team who institutes the Rooney Rule ends up hiring a black general manager? I'm just saying, listen, the Steelers are trendsetters. Call it what you want. But that would kind of make me a little proud of the team, seeing that they do what they believe in. They not only do the right thing, but they pick the right person for the job. So those are my thoughts, man, on my man Louis Riddick.
I can't add to that. I like Louis Riddick. I mean, Sim really loves Louis Riddick. I mean, he talks about him a lot. He really likes him. And as Sim said, it would be kind of funny. Not funny. It would just be it would be a lot of irony that you would hire somebody like Louis Riddick to have a black GM. But I look at it like this. If you see what Tomlin's doing, in a lot of ways I have to give him some credit because you see what he's doing with his staff. You see what he's doing with what he's trying to add on to everything else. These are positive things to me. So for me, it's I'm cool. I'm cool with Louis Riddick being he got the job. I don't think if he gets it, great. If he doesn't, it's going to be a two-man. It's going to either be Brandon Hunt or there's going to be both of them sharing. It's going to be like a co-GM thing, and I would like that too. So, that's all I got on that. You know what I mean? It's not long.
There you go. All right, folks. Y'all see it. Special guest in the building. Miss Debs is with us. We kept it a secret.
The ride or die is together.
She's here, guys, and like I said, we kept it a secret because we just wanted to throw something at you guys, and we knew you all would enjoy it. And Debbie, man, if you want to talk about Louis Riddick, you can, and I'll say right after that, we can dive right into the Brian Flores whole situation. And let me just say this for Steeler Nation. Miss Debbie sent me an email like a day or two after the last show saying, hey, I would love to be a part of that discussion. And of course, I wasn't going to turn that down. So clearly Debs is passionate about it. So I'll probably just let her and Kenyon kind of lead and I'll fill in my pieces. But sometimes I love to hear conversation from others. I'm just that type of person. I don't like to dominate the conversation or, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that Debs came on because now I can kind of watch these two and then just give my thoughts. So floor is yours, Miss Debs. Like I said, if you wanna, definitely add on to the Louis Riddick bit, and we can run right into Flores because to me it kind of ties together.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on. Hey, what's up, Ride or Die?
That's right.
And everyone in the chat. As far as Louis Riddick, I don't have a problem with that. I actually think, like you guys, that he's actually a good choice to come in at interview. I actually thought it was interesting because since we're used to Omar Khan and Brandon, we kind of thought that that's kind of who the Steelers would be going with. So that kind of threw a monkey wrench in the situation. But if any one of those three get selected, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with that. I'm with those. Either one of those. I mean, they interviewed another minority candidate, Chargers. I think the Chargers assistant GM. That was him, right? The Chargers assistant. He's with the Chargers. So that guy. Yeah. So he was African American also. So that was cool. But it's a bigger issue than what's going on right now. What's going on right now is just a microcosm, to be honest, of what's going on in our country. and not even our country. If you don't have a real conversation, it's what's going on in the world, and how we, how we always seem to get to the same place. We're always in this place every generation. There's always a generation that has to deal with this. And, you start looking at the world and it's kind of sad, And there's a lot of people that would use the term, quote unquote, woke. And I think me and Debs somebody used that term last week and we just
roasted
them. Yeah. So it's I always tell people, they've co-opted that word and tried to, change the definition of what it means. But, as I told him and Deb knows this and Sim knows this, we're African American. We've been woke since we were born. There's no such thing as us not being woke. We were born, we were woke. We had no choice. It's just what that's what we live. So it's kind of like, what you're seeing it's just a microcosm of the human race. And it's kind of sad. You start looking at it and people always say, they always give you this, we can talk about this and that, and we can do this and that. And I always tell people it's very interesting. It's the two icons, civil rights icons in most people's lives are Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, who had two totally different approaches to what they wanted to achieve. Now Malcolm, as he got older, learned to, he was hard, but he kind of changed when he got older. He saw a bigger picture.
And actually, so did Martin Luther King.
Yeah, exactly.
He saw that his approach wasn't so much so that he couldn't see where Malcolm was coming from. So they actually started sort of coming together in a sense. And I think that's what maybe prompted the majority class, if you will, because I don't like to call them majority, but prompted their demise. Because God forbid they get together.
Too much power. Yeah, and once you get that, it all comes back to the same things and just how, you look at how people, how essentially races progress. And our race always seems to, for every progression step you think we're taking, we take two steps back in a lot of ways, or we're being prevented from having the opportunities to do whatever. And, and if you look at it this way, it's really, if you look at it, it's the rock that holds us down. You start thinking about it. It's like, you think about other communities and how they may stick together. So they kind of all grow together. They all blow up together, and you look at our communities, it's never really like that. So in a lot of ways, that's why I kind of applaud LeBron in a lot of ways, because he brought his friends up, which is something that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people get theirs and they're out. And I have this conversation with my friends all the time that move to suburban neighborhoods and they move to cul-de-sacs with other races. And then their son or their daughter gets older, they come home and they bring home somebody of another race, and they're like, why do they have to do that? I said, dude, you move to the suburbs. You move to the suburbs, you're not in your hood. You're not in the same spot you were. You're trying to move out. So why would you expect them not to bring somebody else to your house? So it's just kind of logic.
Exactly, because you are with who you surround yourself
who you're surrounded with. So you're gonna attract who you're around. So it's one of those things. So for me, it's just, in a larger sense, if you look at the NFL, it's just a microcosm of life. It's just, there are 31 white owners who they have old money. They're not going to give up that power to multiple minority owners in a league that's 70% black. And essentially, you look at it this way: the NFL is kind of backwards more so than the NBA. Where you look at the NBA, and they're making the progression. They're the current. They're the new kids. You have multiple black owners. You're going to have more black owners. I'm pretty sure LeBron's going to own the team once he's done. There's going to be multiple guys doing that. And their league is 80% black or 70% black. And you have multiple black coaches. And so you see how the progression is of one league is progressing and the other league doesn't want to progress. And those who love and say, well, I just like it this way. That's funny. Yeah, you like it this way because it doesn't affect you. You understand what I'm saying? You're thinking about you. You're not thinking about everybody. Everybody. You're thinking about you. So it's such a big issue that it's just, I don't want to go off on a rant, but it's just true life. That's true. That's just facts. You know what I mean? You know, you can spend it any way you want to spend it, but that's just facts. And, you know, it's where we are in this current state. You know what I mean? And it's sad. It's kind of sad. To me, it's just sad. That's how I look at it. It's sad as a Steelers fan.
Exactly.
As a black man, essentially.
Exactly.
You know, let me jump in real quick just to say this, because I know the comments are coming. For anyone who's offended by this conversation, I do not care. The view doesn't mean that much to me. It is what it is. I don't care. Because a lot of times when these conversations come up, there's always people saying, well, how did this become this? If you can't see the issue, you know, we're all Steelers fans. Y'all know I've been nothing but a Steelers fan all year, and I love all people. But we should be able to have these real conversations. And if that offends you, you're the problem. Not me, not Debs, not Kenyon. And like I said, I do not care. If I lose viewers because of this, I'd rather not you not rock with me than to have fake followers and then they get upset when we bring up a real topic. Doesn't mean that we have an issue with other races. Not at all. I love everybody.
Exactly.
So
we were on the Coward train when he was the coach. We never had any ill will, none of that stuff, because we're Steelers fans. But all the pushback of all the timeless stuff, we all know what half of the stuff is about. We have no problem with the critique. I know for me, when I'm in the chat, anytime I see it turn left, I have no problem engaging because that's what I'm there for. So whenever you jump in for that is only when I'm really not in the mood for it, I will be there for that fight. But Sim, I'm going to tell you, I have it written right here because I printed out the lawsuit because I wanted to read it in this entirety because I wanted to see exactly what Flores put in here. But I do have at the top because I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize your podcast. So I do have at the top, the views here expressed here are by me and mine alone, and they're no way reflective of you, your podcast, or anything like that. So I'm gonna put that out there as my disclaimer.
Well, you could have put my name on there. What you talking about? You know I'm all in. You know I'm with you. So.
Yeah, man.
You could have put my name. You could have put Kenyon right there with you. The views, yeah, exactly.
So
I'm
the
with
views
you.
here are mine and Kenyon's.
That's right.
So I just wanted to be known, but you know, since you said that I could come on, I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize what you had going here.
No problem. And we'll just kick it off, and I'm going to let those guys go, give them some time. Listen, let me just say my small piece. The biggest problem with this whole situation is two things. One, Bill Belichick, I have no issue with him sending that text message. As far as I know, Bill Belichick thought he was sending it to the right guy. If I knew two guys named Kenyon, and I send Kenyon something, and this is a code, Kenyon will know this. If I send him something about 5440, and he don't respond, I'm gonna be like, yo, what's up? Oh man, my bad. I thought you was my other man. So
the only thing I would say to that sounds just like some guy stuff. And I'm not gonna curse on your thing. Clean it up, Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Continue.
But yeah, man. Listen, and the issue is with the text is the fact that Belichick knew the outcome before Flores even interviews. Why is this a problem? Some might say. Maybe you did have your guy in mind, right? But it's a problem because Flores is a minority. So before you even bring him in to meet the Rooney Rule quota, we know who we hiring. Let's just bring him. Don't bring him in. You clearly brought him in to meet a quota. And then the next thing, if any part of what Flores is saying is true about the $100 payoff to lose,
that's the thing for me. That's one of the bigger things for me.
For the 100,000,
bruh. Y'all don't know how deep this goes if you do that to the minority coach. This is all speculation, but I'm going to say why it pisses me off, and then I want to hear what Kenyon and Devin has to say. You do that to the minority coach so he can have a losing record. Mm-hmm. It's easy to fire him.
Yep.
Because now this guy their team has not had back-to-back winning seasons in forever, and you fire that guy? Say what y'all want about the right man for the job. How do you fire a coach, a fairly new coach that has 2 winning seasons? There's a culture that he's building. How do you fire him? Now we know. He didn't play ball. He didn't play by the rules. That's a problem. And if y'all can't see that as whatever race creed you come from, if you can't see the problem with that, like I said, I don't need that view. I don't need that follow. Catch you next time.
And the thing is, in Ross's mind, he probably figured that there are guys out there that would have taken the $100,000 or whatever it was to throw some of these games.
Well, that's a fact.
And it's stupid on Ross's end because he had Adam Gates who would do it for free to lose games.
That's true.
How about that?
Yeah, Adam Gates, yeah. And I think the thing that people don't talk about a lot is that, and it's just a fact. How much credit do you get as an African American coach when you lose, as opposed to the only coach I can think of that kept their job that long was Marvin Lewis?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the only guy I can think of that had that type of leeway. But everybody else, you get fired. You don't get the same leash. You know what I mean? That another coach may get. If you have a losing season. I always think about if Mike Tomlin wasn't in Pittsburgh and he didn't have the Rooneys as owners. Say, for instance, he was on another team, would he have lasted? You know what I mean? We have lasted going 8-8, lasted going. You know what I mean? I'm thinking he wouldn't have lasted. So it's an issue for coaches because, and then you start thinking about like the Eric Bieniemys of the world, who have been who's interviewed 15 times for a head coaching job. 15 times. And Andy Reid is like, he's angry about that Bieniemy can't get a job. And it's, you start thinking about it and, you start thinking, well, what does it take? You have an offense that's that dynamic. Now, some people will say, I told Sim this, and when we talked about the Tomlin and all that stuff, I said, well, Tomlin calls plays. Andy Reid has the ability to override Eric Bieniemy's play call. And he has that play sheet. And Andy Reid is calling plays because you watch him in the game, he's doing it. So it's kind of like maybe they look at him like that, but I'm like, Bieniemy has proven himself already. So, and it goes back to the main topic, with Ryan. It's like, what else can he do? And I think people don't understand when you have to fall on the sword to get progress, to get some inch of progress, which it really shouldn't be a progress thing. We should be at another place. There should be black owners. There should be, there should be multiple. It should be like that. But, I always tell people will sell you a utopia in their minds of what they think is perfect.
Yeah. And
then you look at, when you open your eyes, you see it's not. It becomes like a pattern that's obvious. And for us, we can see the pattern. It's not hard for us. We see it. You grow up that way. And and I'll tell people, when people don't understand, they can't understand that type of conversation, that lifestyle. Always, it's hard to have a conversation with them. So it's it'll be an interesting thing. But yeah, go ahead on Debs. Let us hit us with the stuff. I'm ready.
Well, we know like the general information about the text messages and things like that. But Brian Flores' suit literally goes through a system or a pattern of practice of how the NFL does not or did not allow for coaches, or did not want black coaches or minority coaches to be in those positions. And I mean, they literally went, like, if I go back to their ongoing, I mean, he has a top section in here, ongoing problems with race from the very beginning. One of the first sections in here, discrimination from the Washington owner, actually had in his will that his team did not hire any black players. That was part of their practice. So if anybody did that, it would be like a hardship or a penalty to the team. Whenever you do something like that, that's basically a policy or a practice. So that's systemic, because that's something that you can't do, or you're being told not to do. So that's a practice, a pattern in practice.
Right.
That's systemic. I mean, the way it's detailed in here is amazing. What's in here? Go back. Let's see. I mean, they talk about the discrimination against Colin Kaepernick and how Trump stoked up this sentiments of racial animus, how the owners effectively endorsed, or actually 45, because I don't want to call his name, 45's opinion that the player or any players that protested was SOBs, and that they stated their unwillingness to act contrary to his directives were basically penalizing them if they protested. So to this day, that's why he's blackballed. What is this? The acquiescence to discrimination by Gruden, how they allowed him to kind of resign, even though he had a history of discriminatory actions against other people in the league. How he made the comment about DeMar Smith. He made the derogatory comments against Goodell and Michael Sam. If you remember, he was the guy who I guess was drafted by the Rams by Jeff Fisher, another scumbag coach who didn't have success in the league, who was allowed to be there for a long time, who was gay in the league and ended up getting cut and never brought back to any other team after that. Who else? They talked about the players who in the concussion settlement, where black players were discriminated against because the league was using like a baseline or race norming, where doctors had to use a race norming practice where the doctors had to consider black players' mental cognitive capabilities lower than where white players were, so that when they did that assessment, if players lost any cognitive skill, the black players were already lower, so that they can deny those claims. And one of the players that was in that lawsuit was Najee Davenport. Didn't he play for the Steelers?
Yep.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was one of the people in that suit. I mean, it's literally detailed in here of all the information, how the league over its existence has basically turned its back and has not been credible in its attempts to try to make the league more accommodating to is coaches and trying to establish more of a diverse workforce.
And see, that's what it is right there, man. I'm just peeking at this comment from Big Spence. Listen, I'm not going to argue anybody's position, but it always surprises me how when people claim that you're feeding into a narrative and they miss the bigger picture. Let's say Brian Flores, you don't believe his narrative and all that, because, maybe the way he went about it, I honestly didn't necessarily agree with that either. Because I ain't putting Kenyon Tex out there. Unless Kenyon told me to do it. That's that variable. I kind of did not like the delivery, but I respected the courage. And I still respect the courage. Because what he's saying undeniably is true, regardless of whether you believe his story. The fact remains, look at the NFL. Look at the head coaches. Yep. Look at the GMs. Look at the owners. You cannot refute that. There is no narrative that I have to create, nor Kenyon, nor Miss Debs. It's right there. It's talked about all the time on these large platforms, ESPN and everywhere else. There is no narrative that we're creating. It's right there, right in your face.
Exactly. So the thing is, I mean, even if you don't want to take anything for face value, I mean, this is going to be my small example. After this lawsuit, there are 2 new coaches that's hired. They consider them minority coaches. Now, for me, one is questionable because I've never heard of anybody say multiracial. So to me, it's like a spade's hand. It's one in the possible. It's the guy that went to into Houston. What's his name? Lovie Smith.
Oh, Lovie Smith.
And then the guy that went from San Francisco to Miami. Now he's supposed to be multiracial. Yeah.
Black father. Yeah.
Who?
One in a possible.
Yeah, the new Miami coach. The new Miami coach is
he used to be. He's a guy from.
He was a San Francisco offensive coordinator. So he was not a coordinator. He was underneath Shanahan last year. So he's biracial.
Mike McDaniel.
He's biracial. Yeah, that's what he identifies as, biracial. Yeah, that's what he said.
He's biracial. One in the possible. So
they Rachel Dolezal.
Exactly. So
let me stop.
Now I don't know. Now to me, it's kind of suspicious that all of a sudden there are 2 newer hires that are considered minority. Because again, I don't care who they hire. They should be hiring the best coaches for their teams. A lot of times, and I think this is global, a lot of these places, whether it's the NFL, whether it's corporate, a lot of these people don't know who they want. So they spend a lot of time trying to say, they see like something shiny over here and they say, I want that. But then they don't know what that is. So, but they want something like that. So they interview or they listen to what they think they want. And then whatever sounds like what they want or whoever makes them feel comfortable, they bring that person in. And they'll bring in, they think they want somebody who does defense, but then they're interviewing all these offensive people. If you want somebody from defense, don't bring in the offensive coordinator. Don't bring in anybody from offense. Don't waste anybody's time. I would hate to have my time wasted if I'm in for an interview and you want somebody that's somebody else. If you want somebody who's doing like IT or something like that, but I'm an engineer and I'm a mechanical engineer, why are you bringing me in to do computers and that's not my forte?
Right. Call
me in when you got somebody that's doing stuff that I know how to do. Right. It's the same thing here. Don't waste my time. And that's what I think, especially with these sham interviews. Don't waste my time. And I think it's almost unfortunate because I was kind of disappointed in the beginning when Rooney didn't come out and say something, because the rule is named after his father. Mm-hmm. And you're on the diversity and inclusion committee. So if anybody should be vested in making sure that this rule has some teeth, or you would want it to have some teeth, you should be out here caping for it. So even if you don't want to say anything about the lawsuit itself, you don't, because you want to make sure you keep yourself clean, you would want to at least say, look, we are doing everything we can in our power to make sure that we honor and do the best that we can to create a diverse workforce in regards to coaching, blah, 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 blah. It was so weak sauce. It's like, really? You got a black coach. The reason why you have a black coach is because you went through the steps to do that. Everybody expected either Wizard Hunt or Russ Grimm to get that job. Dan Rooney heard about Mike Tomlin, brought him in. He blew their socks off. He got the hire. That's how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Yep. That's facts. I mean, basically, I agree with. But here's the thing: you can only do so. The Rooneys can only do so much, because the fact that they're doing what they're supposed to do using the Rooney Rule doesn't mean the other 31 owners are going to do it. And there lies the schism or the systematic situation we're in, where you get these sham interviews where, they're not taking it seriously because in their minds they've already hired their guy, and it's like anything else of how our country was built in a lot of ways. If you make a lot of money, you come into a lot of money, and you have old money, you pass it on to your kids. That's called legacy. That's your legacy. You pass that money on. So the hiring practice is me, my son, his son, his daughter. That's how it works. Legacy. If you have that type of situation, and then there's certain cultures which you can argue would be our culture in a lot of ways. We don't have that same tree. It's not like that. It's a lot of split family, single mothers, single father. Situation is different. There's no such thing as a legacy. You don't have legacy money. It's like, when you get that type of money, that's when you do that. So when other people say, well, just do it like that. Look, if you're holding me back from getting to that situation, I can't even take the first step. Like you already there, you're chilling. I can't take the first step. So how do you expect me to progress? I have to work 2 times as harder. And it's funny because if you just look at the last 4 years, we had somebody in office, and I'm not even gonna say no names, that did everything opposite to help people in general. He helped his people, but he didn't help everybody else. And then you have somebody before that who was trying to help everybody. And I always remember when Barack Obama became president, I used to always fear. I was like, man, he's not gonna last like a year. Somebody's gonna try to get him. I used to think that, when he first came out, when he first became president. But then I used to say to myself, my friends were talking, and one of my friends is like a political scientist. Was in political science, and said, we failed him, because we didn't vote in the primary, and like in the 2 year gap. Like we voted for president, but we didn't vote in that second, that 2 year gap, so we could pass laws. And I thought about it. I was like, he's correct, because we don't take those seriously. And that's an even bigger picture view of everything. So I just look at it like it's a systematic situation, and I don't know if it's going to change. And I can't blame Roger Goodell. You know why? Because he's just a scapegoat.
That's all.
Like the people you need to be attacking are the owners.
It's the owners.
It's Roger Goodell is just the face. He has no power. They pay him. So, so you have to look at it like that. So I can't blame Roger Goodell. I have to blame the owners. So, if the Giants haven't had a black coach in their history, what can you say? If you say, well, I'm not this and that, you haven't even had a black coach. You haven't had a black head coach in your history. They've been around. The Giants are part of the original NFL. You know what I mean? They're not like later. They're an original team, and they have never had a black coach. Says a lot. It says a lot. It just says a lot. It's very interesting.
It's crazy, guys, and of course, we'll have to wrap up here soon. But it's like I said, some people I see in the chat have different opinions, and that's fine. I'm never gonna debate your feelings, and who missed this point, who missed that point. It's all you gotta do is look at the league. It reflects itself. Of all minorities, of course, we're gonna talk about African Americans or black, whatever you call it, because everybody has a different name for it. Because that's what we are. But I fight for all minorities. Hispanic, Asian, whatever. Middle Eastern, and all of that.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think we did say that.
And they got it worse. Honest, I don't want to, some people going to get mad here. But they even got a worse chance than we do in some of these arguments. You ain't going to see, no disrespect, but these owners, they ain't thinking about an Asian head coach. You know why? Because they probably look at Asians like they don't know football. You understand what I'm saying? You don't see much of that. You don't see much of Hispanic head coaching opportunities. So it's, when we talk, we are representing all minorities, but of course we're going to speak on the group that we fit in. So don't build that narrative, because I've seen people poking at that. But what about this? What about that? Of course, I'm not only talking about Black Americans. We talk about minorities in these sports. We talk about it primarily because the league is 70% Black Americans or what have you. And also, one other thing. Y'all keep trying to make these distinctions as if we don't know some of these things. Here's my point. I saw someone say Flores is Hispanic, he's not black. Listen, I'm not even going to go down that road because, guys, I could go really deep. This ain't the night for it. I know Flores is from Honduran descent. I know that Afro-Caribbeans live there. All you got to do is look at some of these countries. You ever wonder why they look like you?
Yep.
You ever seen a Dominican? There are different shades of them too. Cubans.
You ever been to Brazil?
Puerto Rico. There's different shades, but if you know history, there's a reason why. But I ain't gonna go there tonight. It wasn't just America. That's all I'm gonna say.
Exactly.
It was a lot of drop-offs happened. But I'm just saying, I ain't gonna go that far. But guys, again, we bring it back to football. It's the same comment we make. Let's not try to build narratives to fit your narrative. We spewing what we see. I don't know if I have all the facts. I'm just saying, one thing that I don't have to prove is the NFL has a long-standing issue with minority leadership, period. There's no refuting that. It's a good old boy club, guys. It is what it is. And honestly, I ain't even mad at them for that. Right? You started this thing and that's your thing. But no. It's time for y'all to adapt. You can't just do it the same old way. Because there's many more people out here that deserve opportunity. And that's what it's all about. Because there have been some bad coaches in this league that keeps getting chances over and over and over again. You're not going to tell me that there's not any other minority prospects that have a chance? That's a problem.
Yeah.
That is a problem, whether y'all want to believe it or not.
And that's what we're saying. And I think that's what we say most of the time. Just give us a chance. We don't want you to extend any graces or whatever. We just want the chance to show you that we could do it. But then at the same time, when we see graces given where they are not deserved, for example, Houston was almost gonna hire Josh McCown as their coach, a guy who had 2 coaching opportunities. First one was volunteer high school. Yeah. The second one was high school. Now, we could have did that job if he could have did that job.
I agree. I don't want to say no names about coaches who've had multiple opportunities. I know Sim said there have been. I ain't gonna say names, but like Josh McCown. Josh McGinnis. You know what I'm saying? Who's gotten 2 jobs, turned down 3. And then also, if you look at it this way, you have to look at it like it makes it very frustrating, especially over watching a sport that you love. And, I have friends that don't watch football anymore, and they left during the Colin Kaepernick situation. Like, that was their out. Like, I'm done. You know what I mean? And I remember them telling me that, like, just think about that. And, I had hard conversations with myself because, I grew up, that was my team. My team was the Steelers, when I was growing up. So it's hard for me to separate myself from the Steelers like that. You know what I mean? And, we, in a lot of ways, we have a black head coach. So I guess I felt like, you know what I mean? I could feel lit. My soul would be more at ease during that period of time. But as I tell people, as I said, as Sim said, as David said, look, I'm about inclusion. I want everybody to be together. I want everybody to be together. And, I know people in the chat to use a comic book analogy. If you said like it's like the X-Men in a sense, a lot of ways. It's like you gravitate towards the X-Men because Xavier would be Martin Luther King and Magneto would be Malcolm X. They have 2 different sides. You know what I mean? But they have the same goal. Xavier wanted to do it peacefully. Magneto's like, nah, man, by any means necessary. If we have to take dudes out, it is what it is. But that's why you relate to them, because that's us. You know what I mean? And I always use this analogy. Most people, black people loved Black Panther because there's like us, our black superhero. We never had one growing up. Sim will tell you, we just didn't have one. It's Superman back. They're all white. So like our superhero was Black Panther. So you look at it and you say, man.
The Brown Hornet.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the Brown Hornet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have that type of thing. And then people say, why do you gravitate? I said, because that's when black people saw that was us seeing us in royalty, like where we should be. You know what I mean? And I always tell people, Black Panther is what we should be. The X-Men are what we are, if you understand the analogy. Like what we are is, that's the hood, that's where we at right now. So it's the same type of thing. It permeates through society and change is funny because some people don't want to give up that power. It's all about power and giving up that power and if you want to have a true level playing field. And a lot of people don't want to have a level playing field. And that's why you see what's going on right now in the country, because you have that's why you got to split. Mm-hmm. That's when that happens. When you're threatened by something taking over, and you have to look at the realization of your country, where your country's becoming a minority majority, if you understand what I mean, if people understand what I'm talking about, what's going on right now. And so those people will be like, I'm not giving that up. You know what I mean? And they're going to fight to not give that up. And that goes to football. That goes to every sport you want to go to. That's why I say it's reality. It's life. It's just sports is supposed to bring you together. But if you look at it, it's a separate thing. And I have friends that live in the South, and we talk about this all the time. We say, I have a friend that lives in Arizona. We say, man, could you play basketball in Arizona now? Or could you played basketball, or could you play football in Arizona now? If they gave you a scholarship, if they offered Sim a scholarship to go to Florida, his team is Florida State. If you go to Florida State and play out there and play in Florida when they don't want you to vote, like, think about that. Think about that. It will be so hard for me to be like, I'm going there to do that when I, you know what I mean? It would hit your heart. You know what I mean? And it's just, I just sometimes I look at the world and I say it's sad. It's just sad. You look at it and it's just sad. And it's every generation. And people always say we progress. I'm like, progressing from what? How long would it take? And I'll think about it like this. I won't see it. Whatever heaven I'm supposed to, or level playing field I hope I'm gonna get, I'm not gonna see it. I'll be dead. I'm just keeping it 100. You know what I mean? I won't see it. Sim may not see it. Devs may not see it. You know what I mean? And it's just, that's how bad of a hole you're in this situation. And football, it's sad to look at football like that because they didn't learn from the Colin Kaepernick situation. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they didn't learn. it's like they put racism in the end zones and end racism and end this and that. And it's you know, I hate to say it, it's like paper mache to me. Like I see that stuff, it's like why do that? Because you don't mean it. You know what I mean? Because if you really wanted to make a change, you will make a change. Because remember, everything started with an anthem. And I always tell people talk about, yes, you stand up for the flag. I'm like, yeah, if you're going to play the anthem, play the whole thing. That's my whole thing. If you're going to do it, play the whole thing. Not the edited version. Play the uncut, real anthem. Third verse. Play the third verse if you want to have that conversation. So I look at it like, if you're not going to do that, it's hard for me to get with it. But I'm like Sim. Look, my favorite coach is Chuck Noll. So for me, it ain't, I just I want everybody to be together, and I just don't see how that happens. When some people say, there are people that do want that, and we're all together, but there are people that don't, and they're in positions to make decisions that affect all of us. And
yeah,
it's real. It's real.
That's really all it is for me, man. I have a problem with those who act like this stuff don't exist. That's it. Yep. I don't have an agenda. None of us do. We just know the life that we've lived. We know where we live at, and we know the experiences that we had. And that's pretty much it. And like I said, if anybody was rubbed the wrong way, I don't care. I see this. What's this guy's name? What is it? I am Sim or whatever. I'm back, see me. I saw you say earlier that this channel is so negative. I would love to know where we were negative. Like it's very telling that you use that word. This channel is so negative. Wow, interesting. But hey, if that's what you got out of this.
Well, I think it's interesting because for the three of us here talking, he's only asking about me and asking if I work for ESPN.
What?
Swear, I was 5 seconds off of disrespecting your channel.
What?
Weird, man.
He is so lucky. I was 5 seconds off of disrespecting your channel.
It's weird. It's weird. But guys,
you don't need to work for ESPN.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and give you guys your night back because I know some of y'all are ruffled. My little son just texted me and said, "Are you done yet, Dad?" So I got to go be daddy, guys. But listen, there's no way I wasn't going to approach this topic. Me and Kenya knew we were going to do it. I was very appreciative and still appreciative that Dad wanted to come on to lay the law. And I'm sure these conversations will continue. But for you guys who are real fans, this should not have affected how you feel about the Steelers, maybe even the channel. Maybe if you feel differently about me, Kenyon, or Dad, but it is what it is. I don't know why you should. Because again, just to make a joke, it ain't like we was on here promoting Black Panther Party. like we telling you, go do this, start a revolution. We won't say, we didn't say anything out the way. We stated what's going on in the NFL today. Brian Flores, what he brought up. More importantly, we addressed what he brought up. We didn't even really go into whether or not we agree with everything. We don't know. We don't know the facts. But we got to praise him for bringing this topic to light that everybody should know. Period.
And the thing is what other coaches are probably saying to themselves. He was willing to sacrifice his own future to bring it up. So at least be thankful for that. Because it's funny that Kenyon mentioned the pandering piece, because the NFL, he actually mentions that in his lawsuit. And not only were they pandering on the racism piece, if people don't remember, they also do pander to women when they did the breast cancer thing, because women started being part of the fan base, so they wanted to get something that was going to bring more women in. They also did it to veterans, because if people don't remember, the anthem wasn't even part of the whole thing anyway. They used to play the anthem, and then they would bring the teams out. That was always done before anything started. So if you don't even know that part, of the history of what was going on in the NFL, you might as well leave this channel now because, again, highlight watchers don't know what happened.
Don't know the facts.
Don't know facts. And we try, and I'm saying we because I'm on here today, but we try to deal with fact-based stuff.
Right. That's just that. Debs, I couldn't say it no better. That's the best. Couldn't have said anything. Said it any better. That's exactly. If you don't know that, we can't have a conversation because that's like right in front of you. It's like everybody knows that. And when you know that, you know the anthem became an issue when the NFL partnered and we're trying to. It's all about money. Once you realize that, then everything else becomes simple. Once you know that it's simple, it's all about money. NFL is the biggest sport because they attract all these fans and a fan base in America. It's the biggest sport in America. If you look at globally, it's not the biggest sport. So it just tells you the NBA is bigger than NFL globally. You know what I mean? You know why? Because they have everybody's included. Everybody's included in what they're doing. I mean, you got teams in Africa. You got teams. You know what I mean? You got all kind of stuff going on. So it's a different viewpoint. And I mean, Debs, that's just the best. That's the best. I mean, you can't say anything better than that. Come on, man. If you don't know that, why are we talking? And look, I don't want people to be mad. I don't want people to be mad at Sim or be mad at Debs. And look. Sometimes you gotta tell the truth. And I know if it ruffles feathers, so be it. If it makes you uncomfortable, so be it. You're supposed to be uncomfortable. Let me give you a heads up. We've been uncomfortable our whole life. So if you're uncomfortable for an hour and we've been uncomfortable our whole life, I don't know what to tell you.
That's it. I mean, oh well.
And see, the NFL is trying its best to get even more money by trying to do this whole international global thing. But if they're having trouble here diversifying, how in the world do they think they're going to take it to the UK,
right,
to Mexico, to all these other countries when they are having difficulty doing it here with its Mexican groups, with its black groups, with its Hispanic groups? How in the world could they do it here? I mean, do it globally when they can't do it here. It's literally something that has to be, I mean, at least in my opinion, it's almost like a machine that, like say scissors, you use scissors to cut, no matter who's using the scissors, it's going to cut the same way all the time. The only way the scissors are going to not cut is if you break them. You have to almost break the machine from the inside out. The players weren't doing it when Colin had it, when Colin was dealing.
He didn't have enough, if he had more guys.
If you had more guys supporting it, they would have did it. Because if you look at the NBA, that's why the NBA is where it is. I mean, the ratio of coaches is 30 teams, is 15 black coaches or minority coaches. You have to almost blow it up from the inside out. You can't ask us as fans or outside. It can't be outside pressure in. It has to be pressure inside out. That's the only way the NFL is going to at least solve that issue. And because it's more internal pressure than it is, it's more out in, it's not going to work.
I'll just end it with this. The best analogy, and Sim knows what this is. She just said it. Scissors. What did Daenerys say in Game of Thrones? Remember she said she named all the families. She said it's all the will. She says you can't make the will, you have to break the will. Remember she said she made that. She said you have to break the will. And she's correct. So it's the greatest analogy. Debs that's just perfect. That's how it is. And until people understand that, and what it's going to do is going to make those people uncomfortable. You know what I mean? But that's the reality. That's the only way you can get to that place is to end that, and people don't want to end that. So, all we can do is speak on it.
Exactly.
That's it. Not be scared.
And hey, I promise next week I'll keep it all Steelers.
We got the draft coming up. We're getting into some stuff. You know what I mean? It'll be better. So we had to take this break. I know it's Black History Month, but come on, man. Sometimes you gotta speak on it.
And we'll give you guys a break and not have the ladies on for a little bit longer. For those who tired of seeing me.
Oh yeah, that's coming, by the way.
Yes.
The ladies of Steel Nation, they'll be here. They got some great topics on the way. So, but all right, guys, listen, this was an excellent show, man. I really enjoyed it. I'm unapologetic about it. That's just who I am. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna run away from real topics. I'm never gonna not embrace my own blackness and represent my culture.
So you black? I didn't even know that. I didn't know you were black. I always thought you was.
So
I thought you was multi.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and at the same time, I'm gonna embrace other cultures.
Yeah.
My wife right upstairs, guys. She's part Latino.
You know what I mean? And all I gotta say that
come on,
his son. All I gotta say that is, it's 54-40. That's it.
have mercy. All right, guys. We really gonna wrap up now. I'm gonna leave on the 54-40 note.
Yes.
But listen, great show. Let me go deal with little man. I definitely thank Debs and Kenya for coming through like they always do. But I'm always still gonna give them a proper thank you. And until next week, I'll check and see how many subscribers I lost, and see if I cry over it. I shall not. But all right, guys, everyone be good. God bless. Stay safe. Good night. And we definitely thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of Terrible Towel Tuesday with a twist. Peace.